Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh. You're only 34,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like this is a reunion of yous have all got together to like chat to the guy that used to buy you bevy. That's what this feels like.
That's, you've got that, like, because I remember, like, we went to do a gig in Hartlepool. I think it was me, you and Steve.
Oh, God.
And
Hartlepool?
Ray just turns up and it's like,
is it not?
it's Darlington.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, Ray turns up and it's like,
Shields, was it?
Gala shoot?
No, we done
We've
done a few, but the one I'm talking about was in Darlington, and turned up and went North East England, and me and Steve are still open spots, so he didn't know anyone. And Ray's turning up like that scene in Goodfellas when he comes into the club and he's shaking everybody's hand. He knows everybody in the town, and we're like, how does
It's Darlington. It's not like I remember. Do you remember Murdo Mackelhager?
No.
What
So
the
Murdo
fuck?
got to.
That's
So
a
You-
made up name.
No, no. Murdo got to So You Think You're Funny final, finished third, and then never did stand up again. Like literally quit that night. He was great.
Love it.
But he did one of those car trips to Darlington because it was always a new act night.
Aye.
And he thought I was one of the new acts.
Did he?
And on the way down, he was like, "Oh, this guy's done way too many gigs. Like, this is so unfair." And he got there, he was like, "Oh, okay." And then I think he won because Scottish acts. Did you win it? Did you win it?
The Darlington
Yeah.
one? Nah.
Did you win it?
Oh, it was a competition. No, I think I got to the next round, and then
I got
never-
knocked
no.
out the first round.
Did you?
Because I was overthinking it. Like, it was my first gig in England, and I kept changing words that I thought they wouldn't understand
What were
to
you
more Scottish words. So, like, I used to have a bit about someone slashing someone's tyres, and I thought, oh, they won't know what slash means, so I'll change it to plug. And,
Was
and
it
then you,
worse?
I know, and you were like, that's worse than
Yeah.
slash. What the fuck are you
I
doing?
wouldn't know what that meant.
I plugged your tyres.
No.
No.
Because it's funny you say that, because the thing I remember about that gig is when we got into the bar, and like we'd been in the car for 3.5 hours just chatting to each other, and then you forget that you've went to a different place.
Yeah.
And so I get out, and the first person I spoke to was the barman, and I was like, "Oh, can I get a Diet Coke or something?" And he's like, "You what? And I was just like,
You got served by Frank Bruno.
I was like, I'm in fucking England now.
Like, how was it for you starting? Because I started gigging in England, so that's where I started doing
Oh,
stand-up
you were
in
at
Liverpool.
uni?
Yeah,
that's
so like,
right, yeah.
I never really noticed it. Was it weird going down apart from
It was, yeah.
changing mental words?
I still have I still have a wee bit of like you get in your head a wee bit about the accent mainly, because you just worry that they won't understand, and you're always trying to be conscious about like how you're pronouncing stuff. It usually takes me a few days. Let's see if I'm in London for a week. It'll take
Is
me a
that why
day
you
or
do
two.
big long weeks in London?
I just think I need to
You're
like
like some
treat it-
American coming to get your
The only,
Starbucks.
the only comic I know that treats gigs like fucking base camp.
my accent's like jet lag. It's like I need to get over it, and then. But I do, and usually it takes me a day or two, and then usually what I'll do is I'll start off by doing it too much, and it fucks the flow, or not doing it enough, and I'm like, they can't understand. But there's a sweet spot I can hit sometimes where I'm still talking naturally enough, but they can still understand
You're
it.
not doing the fake voice that so many
But I'm not
Scottish
doing the
comics
fake
do.
voice as well, because
You
like
hear that? You're just
Great to be here.
Yeah.
like, in my head, that's what you sound like. we had a weird night last night. We
Oh, yeah,
showed
that's right. You had to.
with David Marshall and LF System.
Mm-hmm.
It was all right, wasn't it?
They've got
alright.
that tune, Tell Me Something.
Yeah.
That one.
No, that's
Nightmare
Ewan
Blunt
McVicker.
rotation
That's
right
Ewan
there.
McVicker.
Who's LF?
LF System. What does it go like? The one that's been number one for 8 weeks.
That's what I was trying to sing.
You were singing "Tell Me Something Good," which is you.
Well, I felt bad because you said it'd been number one for 8 weeks, and I heard it for the first time last night.
Genuinely,
Yeah.
I heard so
I'm
many
so out
times.
of touch.
Do you know? I'm so glad that because I said to you, "Oh, I might give you a lift," and then I needed to stay back at the end. I was so glad I didn't give him a lift because I went in the car and I switched into it. And Spotify, I was listening to a hip hop playlist. And the first song that came in as I sat down was the start of Slow Jams. And I was like, oh, she would have thought I was trying to fuck him. Like, 100%.
I think you'll need to elaborate a wee bit on why you were hanging about with David Marshall and these
So we
cunts.
do Scottish football stuff. So I do lots. Essentially, I've found a niche.
Yeah, you really have all to speak to.
Yeah.
There's not that many people that are doing it. So
You had a podcast for years. Is it this
Yeah.
podcast?
nope.
No.
So that stopped. We weren't allowed to because we Stephen, who I did the podcast with, started interviewing politicians and stuff like that. So they were like,
Right.
I mean, we used to have a jingle that was wipe your cock in the curtains. Like, so they're like, cut that down.
He's done the David Icke, went from football to politics.
Mate, that's the best way of doing it. That's the best way of doing it. That's what Gary Lineker's trying to been doing for years. So doing that. So it's a lot of things like, see, corporate gigs. Like, see if you can't get Fred McCauley or Des Clark, you get me.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened with football. Like,
And
working
one
down.
time you had a corporate gig that you couldn't do, and then they got me instead.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was a natural progression
How
from.
did you go on?
I was good.
I can't remember.
I don't like corporates,
See the
but
highness of your
was
voice
good.
there.
it was really good.
Trying to convince himself.
But you, obviously, because you've been standing in hosting Off the Ball a lot recently,
Yeah,
and
it's
like
class, man.
that's amazing. Because I used to always listen to that in my lunch break when I was in the call centre, and like Tam and Stuart and all that, and like see now when I listen to it and you're on, I'm just like, this is so class, man.
It's
that
weird. So
fucking-
generally, like, it's a show that it's been on for, I think 28 years, 29 years,
Aye.
and I used to listen to it when I go to Thistle games, like on the supporters bus. I've listened to it my whole life pretty much, and see the start. Like if I'm standing for Tam, so if one of them's off now, I'm pretty much the default.
Aye.
But if Tam's not there and Stuart's there, sitting in the room when he does the opening bit, I'm always like fangirling. Like I mean, I've sat with the guy for 2 hours talking about schooling and like other shite,
Yeah.
and then it comes in. But he's also the most fascinating man I've ever met, Stuart Cosgrove. He's
Aye.
just like lived a life. He was the guy that brought Friends over to Channel 4. Like,
Really?
He used to be head of Channel 4. He's written
Was it?
Motown books. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
class.
his music, isn't he?
Yeah, and
Wow.
then I just turn up and I'm like, hiya, do you just like football?
Just
and
love
yeah,
St Johnson.
but we were doing Scotland HQ, so they do little things before each Scotland game. So last night it was me, Stu, David Marshall, and LF System. David Marshall's handsome, isn't he?
Very handsome.
Like threw me
I
off.
felt bad because you were talking about how handsome Craig Gordon was, and I thought it was a bit like talking about your ex or something. He's very handsome too, but yeah, striking. I thought.
Yeah, it threw me off,
Yeah,
man.
I was quite starstruck.
And but you didn't know who LF System were.
No,
That's good.
but they were nice guys.
That's-
Sound.
that's a good wee tune. That it's when it's
Yeah,
dead
yeah.
slow and then it's
Yeah,
fast.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sean, the ginger guy,
Yeah.
clearly is the brains behind the operation, and Connor the black is a rocket. Like it's a class combination. Like I feel like
Yeah.
you need a rocket. You need to bring someone into this.
That's why you got
Bring
Stuart.
it. get Roscoe in on that.
Oh,
No, like see, I think the closest we got to that was when CMB came on.
Yeah.
Like he
I
just
saw you edited that clip.
the super
Yeah, the
cut.
super
Yeah,
cut. Jesus Christ, man.
But I think it'd
Some
be too
boy.
chaotic every week.
And what is it like? Who do you plan this, or do you just
No.
turn up,
No.
chat, and go home?
We usually have a couple of
That's
topics.
why it's quite inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every 2 or 3 are pretty good, and then
Then we get a comment on YouTube like, a bit poor this week, guys. Like, fuck off.
this is improv.
There's literally nothing to this.
So when we did the football podcast, that's the only podcast I've done. So we did Soccer FM for like I don't know, maybe 140 episodes, something.
Aye.
And every time I go to Australia, we get a guest host in, and they'd be like, "Can you send us a script?" And we're like, "Yeah, we don't have one.
Don't
of them.
have them.
Can you give us the talking points?" Yeah, we don't have them.
Yeah.
Like maybe one week Stephen will find the button for Shania Twain that didn't impress me much, and we'll read the league tables to that. That's what we did. But I used to just add footballers on Facebook and message them, like slide into DM, say, "Do you want to come on the show?"
Did you not? Speaking of CMB, did you not get him on pretending to be like Chris Boyd
Yeah,
or something like that?
we advertised it with Chris Boyd, and then we had Christian MacArthur Boyd on.
Oh my God.
And he supposedly there was a rumor that Chris Boyd's all his kids started with the same letter K like him. So we're like,
Like
how
the
many-
Kardashians.
yeah, pretty much. So we're like, how many kids you got? It's a live show we're doing,
Aye.
and CMB's like 9. So we went, right, name all the. And it's so funny because if you've ever met Christopher McCarthy Boyd, he's a big wrestling fan. So he went Kane. And we were like, "Are you just naming wrestlers?" He went, "No." And generally one of the funniest lines I've heard, he went, "Undertaker." So good, so good.
You must have met loads of like folk for Scottish football and stuff. Like, what's been the maddest interaction you've had with?
Oh, that's a good
Somebody for
one.
Scottish football?
Gary Caldwell. I interviewed him.
Who
and-
you
Former
didn't
Thistle manager.
enjoy as
Yeah.
Thistle manager, eh?
Yeah, I was
I
quite.
hated him at Celtic, to be honest.
So it's a very anti-Caldwell podcast. This.
I'm doing a live 2-hour radio interview with him, and just before it goes on, I see him. Someone said Ray tweets about you a lot.
Oh no!
One of the tweets I saw him read was Gary Caldwell's been sacked and I've got a stoner for 40 years. And then 2 hours of just tension, man. Just
Oof.
absolute tension. At one point he said, "Oh, I wanted to." So I don't know if you know this. He took the Thistle team on an SAS training day, and Bryson Twamby ran away, and they tracked him down. He was crying and all this stuff.
Oh my
right?
God.
It made all the media. And I went, "Why did you do that?" He went, "I wanted to get used to tough situations." And I went, "Oh, because you knew you were a bad manager and we were going to get relegated." And there was silence.
God.
Yeah.
People were
Jesus.
messaging in saying, "This is the most awkward radio I've ever heard. Keep
Aye.
it up." Like, all that stuff. And so that was. Have you must have met
No, well, I've done that football breakfast show a
That's
couple of
fun,
times
that's good
on
fun.
BBC Scotland, right? But I always find though, like, because that must be such a delicate balance. Because obviously in comedy, everybody's used to having a laugh, but obviously these footballers and stuff, like, they're obviously taking it seriously. And if you're coming in with a wee bit of banter as a fan or whatever,
Yeah.
like I could imagine, like, you just try to say something like that. Obviously, I mean, I can understand why he never
Yeah,
took too
yeah.
kindly to that. But you need to kind of get the balance right, because it's like, you know, I remember the last time I was on, it was like Colin Hendry on it, and there's like a million things I was saying. It was like, I'll just keep my powder dry. Actually.
We got Colin Hendry to come to Stephen's 30th birthday party. Generally, he came
that a good
up-
laugh,
Yeah,
Stephen?
Colin Hendry's.
See, when you're
sound.
sliding into these footballers' DMs, did you have a woman's profile?
I was going to say something there that was legally challenging, so we'll leave that one.
Ray Bradshaw.
Yeah. What was the other?
One of Chris Boyd's kids.
We did a live. One of my favourite ones. We did a live show at the Stand, and we used to get different footballers, and we'd try and match to. We had Craig Brown on, Scotland manager, and he was meant to be on for 20 minutes. He did 55 minutes talking about the best hotels for shagging on European away trips and all this stuff. Like, it was incredible. Like, we've got the live footage of that somewhere, and every now and then, like, I nearly fall off my stool laughing, and it was amazing. But we got Jason Scotland to do one, and halfway through, someone put their hand up in the audience like that. And I was like, "Oh, you got a question for Jason?" They went, "No, can you ask Mr. Scotland to take his Rolex off, please? It's blinding me off the lights." And it's just like different level, man. But he now lives in Airdrie.
Jason Scotland.
Jason Scotland.
Because
After that song that we made about him, that World
Do you know
Cup.
who made that?
Who?
Richard Melvin and Dave Flynn.
No, was it?
Yep.
Two
Yep.
producers.
Radio
Two
producer.
radio
class.
producers.
BBC
That's
Scotland.
amazing. I didn't know
I'm
that.
surprised. Melvin's obviously told me that story about 300 times. I'm
Really?
surprised
He's
you've
never-
never heard that.
No, he's never
Yeah.
told me that.
No,
It's,
I don't know that.
And I'm trying to think what other random. Oh, so I'm the face of healthy eating for Marks and Spencers. Did you know that?
That is the most Jordan Hill thing you've ever seen.
No, so they came to us, and so I was getting my house done up, and Andy, my agent, phoned me, and he was like, "We have to sign this NDA for something. What is it?"
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, "Right, okay, let's do it." And then he went, "Are you sitting down?" And he told me, he was like, "Marks and Spencers want you to front their healthy eating campaign with the Scottish national team." And I burst out laughing. He's like, "What are you doing right now?" And I was sitting in the Morrison's car park eating chicken wings. Sound. I go and do football challenges with the men's and women's team. And Lyndon Dykes does all his M&S food shop in his local garage. That's where he does his
Really?
big shop.
Like Alan
He does his big. So I said that to him. He was like, "What?" It
That's
was-
weird. I hope it's an M&S at least.
It is an M&S.
Aye.
He's not
Not
Londis.
Londis.
Wild Bean Cafe. 14 croissants for the week, man. Have you ever bought anything for the Wild Bean Cafe? Always
Oh yeah,
No, I'm
I used to do a
perplexed by
lot
that
of.
place.
I used to do a lot of flyering, and there was a wee petrol station nearby. Used to get a bacon and cheese melt times two, and
I know what two means.
two of those for, healthy eating. You might not know what that is.
Fair point, yeah.
And a rolling sausage from there every week. Flying.
In one go.
Oh aye. I used to be fatter than what I am now.
Aye.
Rebel, man.
Do you know, it's weird, like, that reminds me of, like, with health eating stuff. See, when I was at uni, I done a placement at the Evening Times one summer, right? And they got us to go, I'd always go out and do Vox Pops, and it was usually if there was like a new study or something out, and there was a study, it's like, oh, people in Glasgow are eating healthier than ever, right? And I had to go and like, interview some people and do the Vox Pops about health eating and stuff and write the wee article. So then the next day it comes out, right? And so I've got a full page in the paper with this story about people in Glasgow eating healthier, right? But that same day, the Evening Times were doing a deal with Greg's where if you cut out a bit of the paper, you could get a free sausage roll. And literally, the bit you cut out for the free sausage roll, the opposite side of the page was my story about people eating healthy in Glasgow. So we were standing in the queue like, apparently people are eating healthy than ever. Oh, right, hen, can I get a free steak bag, please?
Did you have your picture on the...
No, I never had a...
Oh.
No, they don't. It's not like the Guardian where you get your fucking profile.
That'd be classic, because imagine, like, you can either do one steak bake or just a massive quiff. Which one do I want today? I was talking to you last night about this. You're dabbling in the fast food influencer life.
Oh aye.
Do people... Because I said to you last night, I'm quite enjoying, like, if you know, Stu's putting up, like, lots of fast food late night eats.
When you're steaming eats.
Yeah.
Are you always steaming, or now you just doing it for content?
No, I am. Because sometimes
alcoholic.
sometimes I'll have a meal and I'm like, I'm not drunk enough to merit posting this. I've got integrity when it comes to posting my piss takeaways.
No, that way some people that rely on drink as a crutch before going on to do stand-up. You need it every time before you post on Instagram.
Just get my courage up.
Do you get a lot of people chatting to you about it?
Yeah, people are quite into that for some reason.
I think it's because we're living vicariously. It's because we always want to do, but you're just fucking...
But
Listen, if you want it hard enough, you can have 6 pints and a kebab on a Monday night, if you want it.
This is also simultaneously in your like sexy skinny era as well. I don't know why I called you sexy there, sorry.
That's alright.
That's quite weird.
You're still doing all the running in that?
I've been lazy with running actually since before the Fringe, but I'm going to gym and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's bulking season, bro. I'm putting weight on, so I can be just sinking
Bulking
pints,
weight
going
on,
to the chippy, going to the gym, and just hope it all works out. Yeah,
What a good way of living your life,
just
man.
everything to excess at the minute. That's not a healthy way to live.
No,
Like,
famously-
M&S have not been calling.
Famously, people never die from going to excess on everything. So you're past the 27 club, so you're all right.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, true.
So-
Yeah, just
I feel like we've not actually introduced Ray yet. So, guys, we're speaking to Ray Bradshaw.
that's Ray Bradshaw.
Ray Bradshaw's here. He's a
Friend of the
very
show.
great comedian and
I thought you were
podcaster.
I thought you were going to say friend.
Friend as well. That's third on the list. It's like when you go to
podcasts. Podcasts above friendship.
it's like jonglers. It's like comedy's the bottom of the list. It's like food,
Dine,
drink, comedy.
dance.
Fins, fucking dine, snort, comedy.
But you're doing very well. You've been supporting John Bishop. Was that last year? This year?
This year.
Yeah.
That only finished in April. It feels like ages ago. I think it's just because life's happened.
Yeah.
So I supported him for like 5-6 months.
How many gigs did you do?
It's just under 70.
Wow.
And how much did you get paid for each one?
It went up as it went, thankfully.
You've played some big arenas as well, obviously, on that too.
Yeah, I think we did every arena in the UK.
You did the Hydro?
Did the Hydro.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because you must have basically played almost everywhere you can play now.
Yeah, pretty much. Did the O2, did Wembley.
Darlington, obviously, as we mentioned
Darlington,
earlier.
numerous times. Pretty
Yeah.
big in Darlington. If you're any of the start.
Darlington Mega
But it's funny, like some of the arenas. So what happened was, so I supported John once. So him and Manfred did this thing where you get a different act support. Because who did you support?
I
Manfred?
supported
Or Bishop?
John Bishop in end of 2019.
Just before COVID.
Aye, in the Alhambra and in Fairmont, so that's like the biggest fucking gig I've ever had, basically.
We did.
But he obviously never liked me enough to get me back.
We did the Alhambra in Fairmont, and John just stopped the gig for 5 minutes to talk about how weird it was that Everton had hired Frank Lampard, who's a Tory, and no one laughed, and he just went back into set. It was so weird. But I did one in Kendal in the Lake District,
Aye.
and then he phoned me the next day. He was like, "Do you want to do all of December?" So that was like start of November. I ended up doing all of December, then all of December. The end of December, he went, "Do you want to do all of January?" And that was still theatres, so we're still doing like 2,000 a night and stuff like that.
Aye.
And then at one point he went, "You've never done arenas, have you?" And I was like, "Of course I've not. Like hardly anyone has." So he was like, "Why don't you do these 3 at the end and then you can finish there?" And then the next week before we started that, he was like, "Actually, we do the Hydro the following week, so just do the final week and then finish at the Hydro." And I was like, "Cool." And then the week before that, the day before Valentine's Day, I know that because I was out with Haley and we were steaming, and he was out with Mel and they were steaming. He just phoned me and went, "Do you want to just do all of them?" And I was like,
class.
"Yeah." And then the next time I saw him, he was like, "These are the list of arenas. Shite. And he was quite right. Some of them are.
I was going to ask, how does it feel to play an arena?
Fun. Like, it's a much grander scale. So, like, you've got a crew of like 16, 17 people. You've got catering. You have 2 trucks that follow you.
Love
We
that.
did, we
Never
did,
done a
Think of
Pat
your
Rowan gig,
Instagram
honestly.
stories, man.
know.
Fucking over the catering.
we did a tour bus. And our driver, so me and John and our manager Rusty were on the tour bus for like 4 weeks, just the 3 of us. It's like 18 people tour bus. And the driver came in one day, he was like, "Fuck's sake, lads, I had Kasabian on this before you." And as he walked in, me and John were drinking tea watching Question Time.
Comedy is new rock and roll, for
Mate,
sure.
Definitely. Honey and lemon before the gigs and that. Aye, they were good. And then, so got to do all of them. Like, I get heckled more times in Wembley than I did all the other ones combined.
Really?
Someone
Really?
kept on wolf whistling whenever I was trying to hit a punchline. So I kept on putting the person down and then they get papped out.
Were you wearing your Scotland top at the time?
Swinging from the crossbar.
I wish I'd thought of that. This is why people have writers. Like, you can see it.
This podcast is really just a workshop for our business.
Oh, it was well fun. And then Dublin, I fucked up massively. At the end of Dublin, I said, "Thank you, Belfast."
Oh, no.
And people thought it was a bit. And then I tweeted out to apologise, and I did the same in the tweet because I wasn't paying attention. So I called them Dublin I called Dublin Belfast twice in an hour period.
Must be nice to be making the kind of mistakes like Rihanna makes.
Yeah. Hello, Edinburgh.
Yeah, I got 1,100 Twitter messages. I counted back on the comments before I deleted it, and it was stuff like, what were my favourites? People are calling me IR Ray Bradshaw.
It's like I Daniel Blake.
Ray Bradshaw. Someone, what was it? Don't worry, it's not the first time the British have come over here and renamed one of our cities. Like, stuff like that. It was
stuff.
bad, man.
That's good.
Bad.
Solid.
And how was the hydro in the list of arena gigs?
Good, man. Like, they all kind of merge into one after a while.
Really?
It seems a bit wanky to say, but the cool thing about the hydro was John was like, bring your wee boys up. My wee boy's 3 now.
Aye.
So he was like, bring him, bring Haley. So we were on the stage. Bless Rod, the sound guy, the lighting guy, sat at his desk for 20 minutes just sitting there, probably hungover, knowing him, waiting until Alex, my wee boy, walked over to the smoke machine and fucking sprayed him with smoke. Like, it was just nice. And then the hydro, the gig was brilliant.
Aye.
Like, smashed it. And then John went on stage and I just got hammered. Like, absolutely hammered. And then we were staying in a very fancy hotel in Glasgow, and like, a few of my mates came back and we just sat and drank till like 3. John's flight was cancelled the next day. I think he just missed it, to be honest. So we went down for breakfast hanging, and then not expecting to see him, and everyone was there. And then about 2 hours later, Joe Magnet, the kitchen shop, we were looking for a new kitchen. I was sick in the car park. Haley was in the guy, and I was like, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Just
You had one of the highlights of your life, and then one of the lowlights.
That should be close to a low light. So much more. Do you hear the Darlington story?
Yes.
I know everyone. That's the low light, isn't it? So no, that was cool. Yeah, so I'm touring off the back of that. So, but it's weird, like the kind of places. So I constantly get messages for people asking me to go back to Plymouth, Dublin, and Belfast. That's the main thing, and they're not on the tour.
Dublin and Belfast would be difficult for you because you get fucking confused, don't you?
I'm gonna need some sort of hit squad to call me about, man.
You hide yourself by wearing a balaclava, which will only make things worse.
And also the crazy famous people backstage all the time.
Who is the craziest famous person came back?
Jules Holland.
Because John Bishop
Hydro?
is one of these guys. Like, he's such a high level of fame that like everybody, he's one of the people. Everybody in the country basically knows him, including other celebrities.
Mate, it was,
Jules Holland.
Jules Holland. The last night at the O2, my agent came up to me. He was like, "I fucking hate you," and I was like, "Why?" And he went, "So there was a big party at the end because we were the only tour that ran all the way. So we did COVID passports, we did masks and gigs. Everyone else was cancelling. We did it the whole way through." And he was like, "There's some of the most influential people in comedy in this room. There's massive celebrities who could really help your career. And you've spoke chatting to that guy there about Derby County for the last 40 minutes." And I was like, hey, big Scottish connection. And then, but yeah, like randomly chatting to Chris Moyles as I went to the bar and all this stuff. Because they've all seen you as well. The only person that didn't come watch me was David Williams. He stayed upstairs.
Right.
In the room.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah.
He'd have gave you the fucking gold star if he'd seen you.
The best thing, fucking struggled at that one as well. So it was great. Came upstairs, I was like, oh, smash that
one. Eh?
I take it when Jason Scotland messaged you for tickets, you just ignored them.
I'm just super like that, man. No, any footballer. I'm running a charity gig coming up in October for Thistle. I'm a Thistle fan. We're doing like a Jags for Good campaign, so it's partnering up with a food bank. So I've just been messaging random footballers, inviting them. So it's going to be like a soccer sixes night out. That is my aim. Just random shite Scottish celebrities, all there, get them there, and then hopefully like there's a nuclear disaster outside, and then we have to elect like the new Scottish First Minister out of like fucking Subo or Craig Beattie. Like just try to say it that way. That's my aim. But you're doing the Kings.
I am.
Have you gigged there before?
Yeah, once, but it wasn't full.
What was it?
It was a charity gig.
The
More New Unders one. So looking forward to playing that, and we'll see if we can sell tickets. I basically need everyone who's ever listened to this to buy a ticket.
I'd tell 2 friends. See that charity gig we did? Have you ever done the motor neuron disease one at the Kings?
No.
Have you done it?
No. Who's that for?
It was Comedy Festival that used to run it. I don't know since COVID if it did. I did it maybe 2017, and Jim Smith. So it was only of all the lineups, all the acts that were on. It was only me and Dan Connell that didn't wear suits. So like everyone else wore suits to do it. It's just
Can't
like,
picture
What
that
did you
in
wear?
Yeah.
I just wore like jeans and a shirt.
Aye.
And Connell was just the same. I think he just had a jumper on or whatever. But that's normal because it's just a gig. Like, why are you suiting
Yeah.
up for it?
Yeah.
And Jim Smith was wearing a black suit. Now, if you don't know Jim Smith is a brilliant comedian who's also a farmer. And we were.
Very
It was,
funny.
Some
I remember
boy,
it was me.
Not a
Fred-
great farmer, to be fair. Spends too much time on the comedy.
me, Fred McCauley, and Mark Nelson were sitting with Jim. And like, Jim, nice of you to wear your funeral suit. And we're just having a laugh because he's wearing this black suit. Just before he goes on stage, he pulls out his pocket and brings out an order of service. He was like, oh no, it's the suit I wore to a funeral last night. And then just walked on. Just like, how the fuck is this your life?
Love him, man. He's great.
I've seen Jim. I done a gig with Jim once, and it was in a big theatre down in Ayrshire or something, and it was like most of the crowd in were farmers, and like see watching him perform, it was like watching like somebody like smash it at the Hydro, but like just a guy talk about tractors, and like it was like Deaf Comedy Jam, like everyone's pure loving it, like pure rolling about nails, like
We were-
'cause he's talking about this one specific guy everybody
Have you ever
knows.
seen it? We
It's like
did
this
this.
Seinfeld of John Deere.
We were in this really remote part in Perthshire, and it was like a town hall, and they'd all come to see Jim, and I was on before him, and I remember thinking, like, he's the white Bernie Mac. Like, how is this happening? He was talking about this wee village.
More
that's-
scared than you cunts.
I love that clip, man. I'd never seen it. Was Deliso Chaponda that told me about that clip.
Aye.
And a takeaway in Lancaster. And I'd never heard of it, so I went back and watched it. I was like,
Aye.
that's class, man.
No, it's good, man.
It's yeah, it's weird. And what I quite enjoy is, I think, because we've been to Australia together.
Yeah.
We've not been
2019.
yet. Jennings was the most Scottish person I've ever seen in Australia. The last time we were out just before COVID, do you remember this? We're going. It was like there was like a beach party, and you'd just come from like Sydney or something.
Aye,
so
I was visiting my cousin in Sydney.
Aye, and then I hadn't seen Jennings. Everyone else were all chatting, and then Jennings walks in, fucking full Celtic top, Celtic shorts, like,
Sunburn.
You cannot buy class, man. Stop pretending you're Tom Roderick. Like, trying to give those numbers.
Eddie Brimson, who's like a big like, football casual guy in his past, said to me, he's like, "Oh, you're always fucking wearing that, ain't you?" I was like, "I'm it." He's like, "Fucking start fighting."
And he was also the barman in Darlington.
yeah. That's when I first met him. To be fair, the reason I turned up wearing that day is because I'd just been coming for travelling a bit. That was like the last clothes that I had, so it just happened to be that day I had my
It's just
my
rocking
Celtic
it.
top.
You had a terrible time in Adelaide. Do you remember that? You
God.
fucked your back.
I fucking hated Adelaide. Even just before I fucked my back, I hated it. It was just the. I mean,
I like
so
it's
if
my
there's-
favourite Australian city. I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
So if there's any Adelaideans listening, sorry, but I fucking hate your city, man. It's so shit. Just look full of rednecks, man.
That's what I like it.
But yeah, I fucked my back, like, sleeping on the bed. The base, I went to the doctor, it was that bad. I thought it was kidney problems.
Aye.
Went to the doctor, and his advice was get a new bed. Because it's fucked your back, basically. I was staying in one of those shite student accommodation places.
Yeah, another one, yeah.
You don't want to be buying a new bed in Adelaide.
So I had to get like an Airbnb after it because
Did it work? Did it fix
yeah,
it?
it fixed it. I got one of those deep tissue massages as well. Very good.
I remember you after getting that, you were just like the happiest I've ever seen
Yeah,
you. I was
honestly.
like, he definitely got wanked off.
It was a happy ending.
Deep tissue is the opposite of what getting wanked off. They just kick the shit out of it.
Do you know what I liked about Adelaide? They had those wee scooters. You see them a lot of
Yeah.
places in the UK now. But they're like, we would
Lime
get that
scooter.
for the train station up to the gig a lot, like just the wee scooter thing, because it was so hot as well. You didn't want to be pure walking in the sun for 20
Yeah.
minutes. So I just get the wee scooter. It was
Is it an
fucking
electric
class.
scooter?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
fucking great, those.
I loved it.
I've never gone on one. I don't trust my balance.
No,
And I
they're
don't know
good.
why.
Oh, you'd be
Oh, really?
fine.
No,
That's
it's
how I
great.
actually fucked my back, to be honest.
Falling off the scooter. No, you've either got a fucked up bed or you've been on a scooter. You've been on a scooter, so no.
Bed, probably a bed. Mate.
Because what I wanted to ask you was like, obviously, I feel like we tried at the start. I feel like all your dads, even though I'm not, like, and it's you all seem to have really good fringes, but like in different way. We'll chat about the weird fucking boiler suit in a minute, but you were smashing it, selling out, all good.
Aye.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. Like, it was my favourite one because the room we were in was like, it was the nicest room I'd played for a whole month at the Fringe, so I just enjoyed doing the show every day, and then the shows were selling out, so it's great because you're playing a full room. and the crowds are lovely. So like, I really just had a really nice run. That's it. I didn't really know what to say when I was bumping into other comics, because usually what anyone does is just moan about it and they're hating, and I'm just having a nice time. And I think, to be fair, like, everyone at Monkey Barrel seemed to be having quite a nice one, do you know what I mean? But don't get me wrong, it was a few days that like, well, you know, maybe had tech to deal with or things like that, or just like maybe it was a bit quiet or something, but on the whole it's by far the most enjoyable Fringe I've had.
And you've had a thing in the past that wasn't this year, but you were like the first comedian to do like sign language, weren't you?
Yeah. So like,
to do it at the Fringe.
Because I remember just before we had that, I remember 2015 I think it was 2015, I did my first solo show, paid venue, lovely, sold really well. It was the Dare show that I did.
The Dares. We were going to
ask you about
and
that,
on the way
actually.
home, every day to the train station, I'd see you two trying to fucking give people donuts, trying to get them into the show. So that's what I feel like. See, because I was that level, I was slightly above, but you guys have come up so much, so it's like nice to see you absolutely smashing it.
I know.
So yeah, 2017 when I did the sign language show.
Was that 2017?
That was 2017 when I did it, and
Sick.
I came back and did it in 2018. Yeah, and then
Jesus.
that was great. Like, because I thought it was going to be a disaster, so I did it. I need to give a shout out to one of my mates. I won't say his name, but he pretty much drunk drove me home from Cheltenham.
That's definitely illegal.
Yeah. From Cheltenham to Glasgow to my Glasgow Comedy Festival show. I was at my mate's wedding the night before, and it was all in sign language. Never been done before in the world, and I genuinely thought it was going to be a disaster. And it went so well, like so well. But I've never been more tired after a gig because you're thinking in two languages all the time.
Right.
And then I went to.
Because it doesn't directly translate.
No. So instead of what's your name, you would sign your name what. So whatever words are coming out, your signs are different, and also words exist in sign language that don't exist in English, and vice versa. So like, instead of there's nothing there, you'd say like Fae. That's the kind of mouth symbol you make.
Yeah.
So there's like, you're doing it all, and I just sat backstage in the stand in Glasgow for 40 minutes by myself, just sitting there like sweating. I was like, fuck. And then I did the Fringe. And
That's
then
what Steve's gone. I'm gonna have to say plug.
Should probably explain. So obviously the reason that you're doing that show because you grew up, both your parents are deaf,
Yep.
and so that's how you know sign language
Yeah,
stuff.
so-
I was actually going to say at the start though as well, like, to see you're saying about like feeling like you're all our dads and all that. Like, not only is it just because I think you started a wee bit before us, but I think I've always felt about you is like you're like one of the most affable people I've ever met, and like because like even with that Darlington thing, and we're talking about everybody, like because you just are so easily like able to get on with like, everybody.
Thank you.
But I think is that probably because of like having to like be the one kind of speaking and stuff growing
like,
up.
I grew
and all
up
that?
speaking to people. Like,
Yeah.
I was when I was like 6 or 7. I remember phoning the bank and chatting about my mum and dad's endowment policy when I was like 7 years old. Like, just not. But also, you don't realize how weird your family are until you speak to other people.
Aye.
Like, that's just normal.
Yeah.
And interpreting it and stuff like that. But see, when you're saying like. I say this on stage quite a lot sometimes. I do think I'm relatively likeable, and that's why I don't die as much as I should, because people give me the benefit of the doubt. I remember Michael Redmond, legend of Scottish comedy, saying, "You're the
Father
person,
Stone and Father Ted,
the
fellas,
person
yeah.
I know that's most like they are on stage, off stage." And I went, "Oh, thank you." And he went, "It's not a compliment." It was like, what? And he was
There's
just
no
like,
art to what you do.
but he was just like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you like that on and off?" I was like, "Oh, okay." So I think that does play a big part, and also I think you learn a lot of empathy, and you kind of grow up in these surroundings where you see sometimes your mum and dad getting treated the way they probably shouldn't be by people, so you want to always treat people better. So that's probably where that comes from. And doing the sign language show, it was so much fun, and every day, so like I thought in Edinburgh I wasn't sure how it was going to go. Day 1 someone offered to buy it as a sitcom, and day 2 I got a 5-star review, and I was like, well, this doesn't happen. Like,
This is great.
fuck it. Milk this for all it's
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun, and deaf people come to the show all the time. And what was really cool is, and so I toured that show. That was the first tour I'd ever done, and so I did 3 nights at the Soho Theatre. Sold out, so I did another 3, but that's beside the point.
I done the Soho Theatre last year, sold about 15 tickets between all 3 shows.
Were you upstairs? Were you upstairs?
Yeah.
So see, when you come out of the upstairs Soho, you need to walk down through the bar to get out.
Yeah.
So every night I was coming through the bar, and there was people that looked like my family going to shows, like deaf people and hearing people mixed, and that's not something you can do a lot. You can't really go to the theatre because it's not hugely accessible, apart from one day when there's maybe a sign language interpreter or a captioner. We never went to cinema, like, all our family together, so like it's really cool seeing that represented back. So when I'm touring now, and every show since, I've always had sign language interpreters, or I've signed it because it's made a real for your butt. And as a result, Bishop's been learning sign language. So John Bishop has got a documentary on ITV. I've done a gig in sign language.
That'll actually be out tomorrow, the night after this comes out.
Yeah, so when's this coming out?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So it's out already.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's tomorrow night. So,
it's tomorrow night?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So
sorry.
There's a wee edit point for yourself.
So that's how they do it? Is it?
I've seen it.
Yeah. I was great. So that comes out, and then straight after that on ITV, there was a stand-up gig. So it was me and some other deaf comics doing an entire gig in sign language to an entirely deaf audience. First time that's ever happened in the world.
Wow.
So I'll be I think I must be the first hearing person ever to do a comedy set in sign language on telly. So that's cool. So that's come out, and it was just nice. Like, we did it in Bedford, because there's a big deaf community there. Went down, and it was just dead fun.
Aye.
Like, I took a night off the Fringe to go down and do it.
Did your folks come with you anything that night?
So we filmed with my mum and dad in Glasgow the week before for the documentary, and they said to mum and dad, "Do you want to come?" And my dad's like, "Where is it?" And they went, "Bedford." And my dad went, "Is it going to be on telly?" And he went, "Probably." And he went, "I'll just watch it then."
That's a great dad.
No arse at all. It's like, I'm going fishing on the Wednesday, so like, just could not have cared in the slightest.
That's brilliant.
They've done that before, and that was cool though. So like, when I did the sign language show, my mum and dad had never really been to the Fringe. My dad didn't have a clue what it was, and he came through and they saw the show. And then my dad came back through the next day just so, because he was like, "There's street performers, there's this. And he came like 4 times, and they came with different pals each time, and it was like they're getting to experience something that they maybe wouldn't. And what was really nice was, without being big-headed, I went to see John Bishop and Tony Pitts do a podcast called 3 Little Words, and that was being recorded. So I went to go see it, and I was an hour late. Right, so I thought it was a 3 o'clock kickoff, but it was a 2 o'clock kickoff. So I got there with 5 minutes to go, and I went backstage to see John. He went, "What do you think?" And I went, "Fucking loved it." He went, and he went, "I know you were late," and I was like, "Oh, sorry, mate." I was like, "So you walk in at the end with 5 to go?" I was like, "All right, cool." But they had a sign language interpreter, and I was like, "It's so cool that other shows are now sign language interpreted, or people are doing it."
Yeah.
And he went, "It's because of you.
Yeah.
Like you did a big part in that," and that's something like, I remember when I did the sign language show that year, Aisling B messaged me, Joe Lycett and a couple other comics say, "How do we do this?" And then they've started doing it. Frankie's always done it. Frankie's always had sign language interpreted shows. And it's cool because there's a whole deaf audience there, quite clearly, who came to my show that want to go see other stuff, but it's just...
You did have a good joke about that, though.
Oh, genuinely, the day I found that out, deaf people pay concession prices. Do you know what? I see the amount of times I've told that joke since, and deaf people are fucking killing themselves. Yeah. Then someone once came up to me afterwards, like, "Just so you know, I paid full price." And I was like, "I don't care, man." So of that £2, I was going to get about 20p of it. It works. So and then because with Fringe Issue, you were doing all your sketches and that.
Yeah.
Have you talked about this in the podcast yet? Like, did you feel uncomfortable stepping into that?
Nah, we've not spoke about it.
I've just been slagging them off occasionally for shining out doing stand-up.
Yeah.
I was brave doing something else, guys.
45 minutes of his wee videos. I'm in one of them.
No, it was good. I enjoyed doing it. It was obviously so different. We've done like sketches as a sketch group before with Scram, but without...
That feels ages ago, man.
It was.
Well, it was. That was like 2018 or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
17 maybe.
Long time
But like without other people there, so you're setting it up yourself, you're doing all the parts or whatever. It's a different experience. But
Do you feel out your comfort zone?
no, I felt quite good on stage actually. They went to see it. They look uncomfortable.
Steve looked very comfortable,
did.
actually.
We
My
saw it
mates
on the
went and
last
loved
day.
it.
Aye.
Nice, that's cool.
No, I
Is
think he plays
is
to
that who we
streams.
bumped into at the pub that time?
No,
the
that
McCool's?
was separate.
Oh,
Yeah, they like you as well. My mates all love like Stevie, Josh Pugh, Tom Little, and I was like,
Oh, the internet comedians.
yeah. I was like, what about me? And I was like, no. But I was like, guys, but I've actually written jokes. Come on.
Sketches are still jokes. Come on.
No, mate, what you're doing is great.
Steve got recognised in Tesco today.
Yeah, just as we were getting a
yeah.
wee sandwich,
Perusing the sandwiches.
Are you the guy that makes the funny videos? He doesn't even know my name, but it's still counts.
I've been getting a lot of that. You that guy for TikTok? And I'm like,
Are you big on TikTok, Jennings?
and you know, like I've got a following on it. People have
What we
seen my
talking about? What's your
videos.
following?
It's like 91,000 at the
What?
moment.
I'm not on TikTok.
But
so
that's
I don't
not
know.
like that big for TikTok, really, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter the followers.
That's not
on
that big for TikTok. 91,000.
Nah.
It's the fucking
like-
new camp. Like, how is that not big?
But like that on
Aye,
TikTok,
but they're not coming to the show, and it's like
it's that compared to like Twitter or whatever isn't the same
I
as
would
like
much
having
prefer
91.
Steve's online following for Twitter or Instagram than that TikTok one.
I don't have that many on like Twitter or that.
Alright, fair enough.
But nah, it's
Do you just get obsessed over your numbers?
I don't really.
I can imagine
anymore.
you 100% do.
I used to.
The fact I went, how many TikTok followers you get? Roughly 91,000.2. Like you 100%.
I'm too obsessive though, so I try and not look at it, or else I would get obsessed. Do you know what I mean? I try and keep it away.
Shit.
No.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
I think I've been through
Oh,
it
Shrek.
enough times. Like I remember the first time I put a video that really went viral on my own page was that call centre one, and then I think I'd done the Scottish phrases one, and that went big.
Well, before that, we had the Scottish comedy documentary, whatever it was.
Aye, but that was interesting.
that?
So we done all these sketches
like
and we
early
started to do
internet
it.
shit.
Yeah, so basically, me and Steve done a sketch, and it was it's just called Scottish Unemployment Documentary, and it's partly based on my pal.
I remember that.
And who like used to work for his uncle, and he'd always get sacked, and then he'd blame his uncle for being a dick, even though he would obviously just be getting hundreds of opportunities and just keep no turning up for work and getting steaming on that. But basically done that, and it's like goes for a job interview, and then it was all based on like they go, oh, can you think of a time when you've used your initiative or something? I can't remember, but and then he does this big thing. But basically that went viral because one of these Scottish patter pages or whatever, they took it and like put it up in their own thing, and people just thought it's for a real documentary because we got these sort of student filmmaker guys and they filmed it quite well to the point where it did look real, and then people seen it out of context and everyone thought I was just a mad bam who couldn't get a job.
Did your barber up here slag me off like I hate that wee guy? Did the interview? For fuck's sake.
Ironically, he likes you better than me now. That fucking W.H. Smith, so true, man. So true. They're always in the airports.
Not a chance
got
he
him
goes
selling
to a
job.
barber. Like, this is Tony and Guy energy right here, man. You're not going to a barber.
You're not fucking you.
Do you know what? Halgard, my Kurdish barber, works wonders with a beard whenever I'm doing stuff. I remember I was doing, see when I did what was it? I did the One Show. I was in...
Sly wee plug there.
No,
You
no.
done the One Show? Who was the other guests on the One Show when you done it?
me, Frank Skinner, and the cast of Strictly Come Dancing.
It's class.
I was watching that when you were on with Frank
So
Skinner.
I was on holiday in Portugal the day before, and they phoned me and they went, because I was touring and I'd taken a couple of weeks off to go because Hayley was pregnant, so it was going to be like one of our last holidays, and they went, can you do the One Show tomorrow? And I was like, I'm flying home, how many viewers does it get? And then my agent was like, about 7 million. I was like, yeah, no, I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. So
do you guess how many views the
View.
One Show
Yes.
gets?
Never heard of
Because I
it.
was like, do you watch it? I don't.
I don't
usually-
watch it. It's
It used
fucking
to always
wild.
go on in my house.
Yeah.
Who is the guy who does the mad American cut?
Mel Brooks.
Mel
Oh,
Brooks.
that video
What a
was great.
crazy
Yeah.
show this is.
'Cause- so I went over, but I was on holiday, so I didn't have any clothes, and I didn't, and like my beard was all raggedy, and I was like, if 7 million people, I better go. And I went, so I flew into Luton or somewhere like that. They booked my flight, and again Central London. I was like, fuck, I need to go get my beard done. And I walked into this like Turkish barbers, and there was 3 people in front of me, and the guy constantly was doing the hair, constantly turned around to stare at me like, why the fuck are you here? You're clearly bald. But I think he thought I was like the mystery shopper. So like, he was
can't
giving
turn
me
him away.
so much attention when I got it done and all that. And then he fucked my beard. He did a wee bald spot on it. But yeah, when you were saying about barbers, that was so awkward that day, man.
Did you tell him I'm doing this to go on the One Show? Watch me later on.
No, but I do remember you messaged me saying it's amazing. You got me in trouble. I don't know if you know this. The
I have no recollection
The
of
end
this.
credit on iPlayer, I'm not in. So it's Frank Skinner, the Strictly Come Dancing, Alex Jones and Matt Baker, they're in it, and I'm not in it. And you went, oh, it's a shame they didn't do it or something like that. And I tweeted back, the truth, I was already in the pub with my mates, and my agent saw that. He was like, why the fuck do you do this? Like, so
Were they raging at
yeah, because I should have been in the main picture at the end for the iPlayer and all that, and it was a good promo, but I was in a pub in Victoria. I just went, just came off and then fucked off. But yeah, you do like a practice interview.
Right.
So like you sit down, you do your interview, and they say you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that.
So was this for plugging your tour?
Yeah. So it was so yeah, I did like 5, 6, 7 minutes with Frank Skinner, who was quite sound. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to say pervert. I wasn't allowed to mention Santa. So funny when I did
Is
it.
that in the same sentence?
Some serious accusations.
Two sentences apart. But yeah, they go, no, you can't do this, and then they do a proper run through. It's like the opposite of this. We didn't even do a fucking intro to 20 minutes.
Well, you know, the One Show, it's fucking their days they've had their day in the sun, you know what I mean? This is the new media. We don't even need intros or anything, you know what I mean?
What was your fridge like? Because you seem to be doing great. Did you enjoy it?
Loved it, man. Yeah, I had such a good time. It's great. Yeah.
Did you wear the boiler suit every day?
Yeah, man. Well, I had two, which I alternated and washed.
What was it? What make? What make?
Just from some vintage shop. Just
You bought it for Dave Chappelle's website.
It's the official on the bag. It said Chappelle. And
The big C badge thing
yeah.
he's got.
I didn't even know he wore a boiler suit. I don't really watch much.
Marcus
Dave
Birdman
Chappelle
wore
ever.
one when the day
Is
when I
that
went to see
right?
him.
Did they?
So
I wait
What
to
was
like
the
cool and
thinking?
artsy, not like a turf.
his was
Yeah.
Dickies. That's what I was asking. Like
Oh,
if he's
right.
making
I don't know
money,
what
then
mine was.
That is a good.
Uh,
What was the thinking behind
I
it?
just couldn't be arsed thinking of something different to wear every day.
Do you think about what you wear on stage?
Yeah.
So is that like the, you know, how was it Einstein only wore like fucking black socks or whatever?
Mate, you're thinking of Steve Jobs.
Steve
He
Jobs,
only
is it?
wore
I've
the
heard this
same-
about a few people.
There's something.
This is like the last week we were talking about who was the celebrity they got their ribs removed to suck themselves off. Now it's like, which genius was it?
Einstein wore a boiler suit so he could suck himself off. I think that's the real one.
Please, who edits this? You edit this, don't
Yeah.
you? Get one of those, like, you know how you get the quote profile and then the quote at the side. So like a picture, like you get Gandhi and it's all that. So get McPherson, Einstein, only more boilers and sucking it off. Get that, put that there now. The camera, put that there. Just giving you more work to do, mate.
Yeah, no.
No, I had a great time, and it's a nicer segue into that question than you gave me last night on the Scotland show.
They were talking about, Nathan Patterson was talking about playing to no crowds and closed door old firm games, and I was like, Stu, how was your French? That was quite funny.
That is good.
Funny thing was, actually, you were being funny about it. You were like, me and Stu, you were bringing me into it. You're like, no, me and Stu are very used to playing behind, to no audiences. And then you tried to do a normal, like, presentally. So how was your French show, Stu? And it still sounded like a part of that. I was like, you can't.
It's weird that bit. See when you're chatting to this and you're like, yeah. Anyway, coming up next, like the turn to the camera is
It's very one
uncomfortable.
show actually.
Because it's
that,
a
to do segue
live
like that.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's live stream. You get a decent amount of people watching it. And
Do you feel the pressure with that?
Nah.
It's
Is
nuts
that
that it's
because it's
actually
cut
live.
anything?
Nothing's live.
So what
ever.
was it? So was it for was it Scotland national teams
Yeah,
like,
their
on their
socials.
YouTube
Yeah,
channel
yeah.
or something?
So they usually get a player from the camp, like zoomed in.
Aye.
But because Marshall's just retired, they were like, from international duty, they were like, he'd be a good one.
It's
to
very
do.
surreal for me because I was sitting next to Ray basically.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at Ray and I'm like, I've sat and spoke to Ray a million times. This is normal. But I'm like, David Marshall's right behind me. I can't relax.
The last one I did, it was a live audience, and Craig Levein was on, and I was like, "Can I slag you?" And he went, "Do whatever you want. I've heard it all." So there's a mirror at the back of the gig, like at Drygate, your reflection, and I went, "Oh, must be how Craig Levein interviewed himself to be the manager of Hearts when he was director of football." And I came off and he went, "Not heard that one. Very good." He was great. He's so funny, Craig Levein.
Is he?
So funny. He does a good podcast act in the morning with Amy Irons, but he's so self-deprecating. Like I was doing off the ball with him, and he was like, "I'm going to go to the Brecon game after this because he's director of football at Brecon."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, cool. Who are they playing?" And then someone, I can't remember who they were playing, Gallifreyan or something like that. And then about 10 minutes later, we got a tweet into the show saying, as director of football, Craig should probably know that game kicked off at 12:30 an hour ago. And he was like, "Oh yeah." And then I was interviewing him,
Telling John Bishop he loved it.
Callback machine. I love it. And then we were on that same episode. I was like, "Were you Dundee United manager when Messi and Barcelona came over to Scotland?" He was like, "Yeah, we played them, but Messi didn't play." 2 minutes later, Craig, Messi scored a hat trick in that game. He's like, "Oh, did he? I didn't know."
Is that attention to details why he done so well in the Scotland?
Yeah. He was telling me the 4-6-0, like the plan behind it and stuff
What
like
was he
that.
saying? Because he famously didn't play a striker.
Yeah.
In Who was it with Scotland were playing in that game?
Czech Republic. We lost
Aye.
one. We lost 1-0 in a set piece.
And so what was his excuse for
He
it?
watched Ruben Kazan play Barcelona the week before, and this is before false nine was a thing, and he saw it and it worked, and he was like, theoretically in that game we needed a point, and it worked until we conceded from a set piece. Like that was one mistake.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he's great, and most of the people you meet in football are
Quite sound.
it's funny. Like some of the people that are coming through, they're so media trained that it's really hard to kind of get them away from that.
The
Whereas-
the players and stuff.
Yeah. So like, how do you think it went? And they're like, blah blah blah. This. But it's all about the team. Like, yeah, but you scored 6 goals. Surely you will enjoy. No, it's all about the team performance. It's nice to do, and it's like it gets drilled in from such an early age, which is why if anyone makes it big after coming through, like I interviewed Lawrence Shankland when he was still at Ayr, and so many teams were looking at him, and all he talked about was how much he loves Rangers, to the point where his manager at the time was tweeting in the show saying, "Tell him to shut the fuck up," because he'd never done the media training, so it was just more enjoyable.
You also just feel like those like players back in the 90s and early 2000s, they were like the last generation that would go out and booze and all that sort of stuff, whereas now they obviously, there's no way they can do that with sports science and even social media and all that stuff, but like fucking obviously that Rangers team in the 90s and all that, and like they would all be mad alkies.
So
and
are you rugby fans?
Nah.
So I did the Doddy Weir Foundation like golf day gig through Bishop, who's pals with Kenny Logan. That's how that one came about.
Right.
And we're sitting there, and what was fascinating was my table. There was 3 guys who played rugby, who probably would have played for Scotland, but it was before it was professional. 2 guys who played amateur and then professional, and then Jamie Ritchie, who's the current Scotland kind of vice captain, all at my table. And see the stories the guys who are amateur going into professional were saying compared to the actual professional now. They were just like, yeah, we'd probably drink maybe 9 pints the day before the game and go to that. And Jimmy Ritchie's like, yeah, I wouldn't drink maybe 4 or 5 months before I'm playing any big major competitive tournaments and stuff like that. And you just realise sport's shite now. Like, it used to be, remember the snooker used to be able to like bevy in it?
Yeah.
but also though, that's why it's like any of the best players for like the 70s or something like would get fucking pasted by the shitest teams a day because they would just like be so much fitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically playing with one hand tied behind the back.
Aye.
Yeah.
Because it was like Paddy McCourt that used to play for Celtic. He was like the last sort of throwback because he was like George Best, but in the sense that he just like he wouldn't be able to last 90 minutes. He probably was at boozing all the time.
Yeah.
He was just like so skillful, and everyone's like, he's like a guy for the 70s or whatever. But
Fans love that though.
Yeah, that's what you want to
Great.
watch. It's like people that show off their comedy, like doing sketches and that. Like, it's just for the fans.
I'm the
Showman.
Paddy McCourt of Scottish comedy.
A
That's what they
massive
call it.
alcoholic. What do you find like?
Ray, can you stop interviewing us, by the way? Because
This is what I always end up doing.
I wanted to say something about one of our first gigs together.
Okay, but don't touch me again.
Sorry. Bathgate Regal Theatre. Do you remember that?
I remember the gig, but I don't remember our first gig. What happened? Did I die or did you die?
I think most people died. I think you done all right. I died in my arse, right? And it was quite an early on gig. And we were driving back together. I think I was driving, and you were like, "No, don't worry about it, mate. You've got that really good, like, sort of awkward comedian thing going on." And I was like, "I'm not trying to be an awkward comedian. I was just nervous as fuck, basically."
They were dreadful, those gigs. Was it busy or was it?
Yeah, it was dead.
I done the Bathgate Regal Theatre once, right, and they usually did done the same as me. So you go in, you Google it, and you go Bathgate Regal Theatre. That's going to be
Sounds
amazing.
Yeah.
But then you realise that you're not actually gigging in the proper
It's in
theatre.
the fucking cafe or whatever.
Yeah,
the
you're
size
gigging
of-
in like the cafe where people are normally waiting to go in. So I done that once, and there was a show on in the actual theatre, and it was like a thing they do every year apparently, and it's like they got all the local kids and stuff to sing. And then at one point, I'm on stage, and I just hear like this beautiful operatic singing, and it was Susan Boyle was singing. She went along and she sang at the end of the thing. So I'm on stage getting heckled by Susan Boyle singing this beautiful song, and everybody in the room just kind of looked as if like, can we just go next door and watch that?
The thing is, you probably want to as well.
I didn't even want to do that. I was the person that was least wanting to be there. Anyone?
One of the worst ones I did like that was Glenrothes. What's the big theatre in Glenrothes?
Rothes Halls.
Rothes Halls. So I used to host these tours that would go around Scotland by Gilded, and so like Boy with Tape in His Face was on one of them, Aisling B was on some, so it'd be good. And then it was a great lineup. So it was me, I would host, Jen Brister, who's now done Live at the Apollo, all that kind of stuff would open, CMB was the middle, and Jared Christmas would close. And we got to Rothes Hall, and they were like, it's not sold that well, and it's like a 300 seater. We're like, how many they sold? And I'm like, 7. And we're like, is the gig still going ahead? I'm like, yes. So I go on stage. I'll send you this picture so you can put it up, right?
So they didn't even move room.
No, I'll show you the picture.
I've done the wee shitty room there to about 40 while Oklahoma sold out next
Oh,
door.
I think maybe we even moved into the shitty room and you
It's like a
couldn't
gym
tell.
hall.
I've only done the gym hall there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a big room.
I wouldn't have known if I didn't see 500 people with Stetson hats on.
Let me find this.
Although actually, when we were at school, we used to go to Safe Drive, Stay Alive. That was at Rothes Halls. where they
Really?
warned
I
you
remember
not
going to that.
crash your car.
I went to that at the SEC.
But it's a weird place at Office House because it feels like a shopping
It's
centre.
got a shopping centre in it. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like a
Good
gym
chippy
hall,
behind
and
it.
then
That's your back garden, isn't it, Stu?
Well, not exactly.
It's
Let's
Fife,
distance
innit?
myself a wee bit.
docs in here.
That's the gig.
Fuck me. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
watch.
I've been there.
Jesus
So
Christ.
there's
Can put that up.
there's seven people in, one of which is a mum that's just came out to her daughter, so they weren't talking. And for some reason, they still employed the bouncer. So there's a bouncer. There's technically
Just
8
in
in the
case
room.
it kicks off.
Jared Christmas did almost 30 minutes to silence, and then mic dropped. Walked off stage. He went, let's be honest, this has been legendary. Walked off. The worst thing was, I just had to go back on and pick the mic up. I was like, give it up for... Oh, so bad, man.
I had an opposite experience of, like, comedy's usually in the cafe and then there's a bigger one. When I done my first ever Scotty final, Scottish Comedian of the Year, T-Pain was downstairs and we were upstairs in the main room.
At ABC?
Aye. Amazing.
Because had that outsold T-Pain that
Aye,
night?
we outsold T-Pain.
T-Pain's in the cafe with Vendies and shit behind him.
I went to see Fatman Scoop at campus.
You love Fatman Scoop, man.
Yeah, what's your thing with Fatman Scoop?
I think it's an absolute fucking tune. And so
his whole career, he's got one amazing tune.
Yeah, well, when I went to see him, he played it 3 times. He also did 7 Nation Army, which was weird. But so I just started, like, the tune was great, and then when I used to run gigs in Gala, which is a fashion college, and whenever I was Gala Shields, whenever I was down there, they
know
would,
it well.
We've done it.
We've all done that gig.
They made me an I Love Gala like vest with like rhinestones on it and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the whole Fatman Scoop thing kind of came about because I had like a shirt over it, and I was like, I'll only wear the vest if the DJ plays Fatman Scoop. Like, turns out everyone in Gala knows each other. Fatman Scoop came on like 9 times. Especially me just fucking topless in the club and all that. And then after that, so I put it on my Twitter profile that I love Fatman Scoop. And I think it is a banger. It was the last song at my wedding. Like, you know how everyone has Loch Lomond and stuff like that. Fatman Scoop. My gran was like, why do they keep saying who's fucking tonight? It was...
At least
how
they
do you
didn't come down
sign
the aisle.
who's fucking tonight?
My gran's hearing, so you don't need to thankfully. But you would say, who's fucking tonight? Because this is fucking, right, like shagging. But in England, that means arrangement. And in Australia, it means Coca-Cola. It's so good.
It's fraught with problems, that.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. So this fucking... So is it just a Scottish thing or a...
Yeah, so like different words will mean things different places.
Is the Scottish accent still fucking you up even if you're...
Yeah, totally. So and then I put on my Twitter profile something like, I don't know if it's still there actually. I did it years ago when I set it up. It shows how much attention I pay. I'm amazing at Connect 4 and I know lots about Fatman Scoop or something like that. So when I did BBC Breakfast, the researcher, like, they research heavily about you. And she was like, so you're Connect 4 champion? And I was like, what? And then she was like, and can I just ask you about Fatman Scoop? And I was like, so I saw he was playing Glasgow, so I made up a lie, just emailed them his tour company saying I was doing a documentary on my idols and I'd love to meet Fatman Scoop. So my mate Craig is an accountant and my friend Laura we went along and we went to see Fatman Scoop at campus. He came on about 1. They've both got work the next day, so it's a Thursday night. Sitting drinking pictures of Woo Woo with me. Fatman Scoop. We met him backstage. They were raging because I cropped him out the picture, like the two of them. But he was surprisingly misogynistic.
Really?
Yeah, a wee bit.
That surprises me.
Kept on talking about bitches, and I was like, "You're not getting my energy." Like,
Well,
You're
was this
better than
off?
that, fat man.
yeah, this is back in the back room.
Was he
Save that
asking
for
you?
the Crookland clan.
It all comes to so and like did you any of you hear the radio show I did with Nelson? So I pitched a show to Radio Scotland. My music taste is generally dreadful because like I grew up in a house with no music, so I got to choose my own music. So we should do this actually. Your music tastes are supposed to influence you if you're a man between the ages of 14 and 17. So if you can think of songs from that era when you were 14 to 17,
like Limp Bizkit, Eminem,
so
Tupac for me.
So mine was 2002 to 2005. Tupac fucking died in 97. So
I bet you
I
get
had
his
LimeWire.
music left on.
so all that. So we had to play a song from that era. So Nelson, so I hosted the show with him. We didn't know what the other one had picked, and Karen Dunbar was our guest. And the idea was you can introduce new music to each other. Karen Dunbar's choices were banging. Like I hadn't heard most of them. Nelson had some great ones, but I'd heard most of them. I got Offspring and another band mixed up. I can't remember who he played. Green Day or something like that. He played All Saints Never Ever. So my 4,
Good
I was
tune.
the first person on Radio Scotland to play 2 of these songs. I opened with Ja Rule, Living It Up,
That's great.
Never been playing in Radio Scotland before.
Really?
And then the next two, they tried so hard to get the radio edit, by the way, because it was like just constant fucking. Fatman Scoop was too obvious, so I did John Legend, Ordinary People, because John Legend was the first gig I ever went to. Did Girls Aloud Love Machine, because it's a banger. And the song that played us out, great song, never been played in Radio Scotland, was Punjabi MC. That was my final choice.
Oh, aye.
You know that one?
Aye, yeah.
It's an absolute banger.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know is there wasn't going to be a sting like into the news. So it's like,
just that.
So it's like dinga 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 dinga. And then it goes
Thousands
off.
killed today.
Jailer went. Two people. It went dinga 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 dinga. Boom. 2 people have died today. And it was just like, yes, that's the edit you want.
So good.
Right, there's a couple of things I want to rattle through with you, Ray, to ask you about. Obviously brought up the Dares thing earlier on. So you done a show that was all about Dares, and you done some pretty mad stuff, including going to the bull run in Spain.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that?
No. imagine.
Don't want it.
No. Who was that in Parkinson that did that? Was it Helen Hunt or something like that?
I don't know.
He was just turned around and
being
went,
creepy or something.
yeah,
like that.
no, he just
Gary
turned
Caldwell, and you interviewed him.
Yeah.
It sounds
around. I think it's Helen Hunt. He goes round Parkinson, goes, well, this interview isn't going well, is it? And she goes, no. And then there's just a real silence, and he goes, we'll go to a break. Yeah, so I did. So pretty much my first Edinburgh show, I was like, you need to do something that will make you stand out.
Yeah.
Because there's like 3,500 shows. Who's going to buy tickets to come see you if they don't know who you are? So
That's why you were selling the donuts, mate.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Genius. So and I didn't want to buy a boiler suit, so I was trying to work my way through and see what I could do. So, and also the flyer said it was a really easy hook when you're flying people. You go, oh, this guy did this. So yeah, I went on a date with Scotland's Oldest Women.
What age?
108.
Wow, I thought you were going to
That's
say like
old.
60 or something like that.
Did you shag her?
It took a, you know,
I drink Parky with us. Like,
why do you think I've been asking news questions? Because this is the level you come.
Last week, Steve asked us if we'd ever tried to suck our own dicks.
Have you? Of course you
I
have.
genuinely haven't.
Fuck off. Every guy has.
As if I'm ever going to get
He's
over
just
this
worried
belly.
in case
You're
he goes
the
back on
face
BBC to
of
do
it.
that research on him. So I believe you sucked your own dick, Ray.
somebody's fucking signing it in the corner.
Well, you're a picture of you're the M&S
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
healthy eating guy.
Aye, you don't get healthy by sucking your own cock.
I mean, if you're only eating that, then probably. Low calories.
Oh man,
It's
have you
carbon
tried
neutral.
Everyone has.
Right, right, no, let's not get into this, because honestly, we went too far in this last week.
I'll listen back, you know.
So what were the dares that you done see?
So I represented my country at a sport. That was my favourite one.
Can I
But
guess which one?
Yeah. It's
Ping pong?
It's a kind of made up sport.
Squash?
Darts.
But squash is in the Commonwealth Games.
No one watches.
Tiddlywinks.
I'm quite good at squash.
No, so 3-sided football. So there's this big Spanish philosophy thing that
Oh, the Joga Bonito?
no,
That was 3 sides. What, 3 a side?
no,
With the-
3-sided like the pictures of
Pitch.
Hitched.
Oh, right.
Sell or something, eh?
Yeah.
Right, fuck.
Steve's picturing you skinning Ronaldinho.
Street soccer.
It used to be a
It's
pure
like that old
heavy
Nigel
ball as well, didn't it?
advert.
You're rattling it. No, so I was good at trying to, because I did it all myself. So I financed it all myself. I went to Spain,
Yeah.
did the bull runs. That was great. I can chat about that. But the 3-sided football was my favourite one, and I could never really do it on stage because it wasn't that funny. It was just great. So we did. So it was like I went to London. So there's we got invited to the World Cup after. So we won this game. So it was Scotland v England v Poland because they couldn't get a Welsh team pretty much. And the pitch is a hexagon. There's 3 goals. So you defend your goal, but you can gang up with another team to go against the other goal.
Oh my god.
So we go
I'm
down.
assuming you in Poland just fucking take
Well,
it.
yeah.
Is it bad that I'm imagining big, massive, inflatable
No,
footballs?
so the level, right? So the Scotland team is me,
Gary Caldwell.
my mate Ding, no, my mate Ding and my mate Steve, Tommy Riley,
Oh, yeah.
and
Some boy.
Matt Winning,
Oh, yeah. Aye.
and a random guy that they brought along that we were proper scared it was going to be English, but he was called Ali. He was dead sound from Inverness, and he plays regularly. So
You need to ask him if he's got a Scottish granny on it.
check it, like get your passport out. But he comes over, right, and we're chatting. But the picture of the hexagon, it's like lined out, like coned out and all that, and lined, and then the 3 goals. But you have to put the goals up yourself. So we were doing it, and my mate Steve was trying to do it, and he couldn't do it. He threw it down. He went, "I fucking hate poles." And the Polish team went by at the same time. So we're like, no, we didn't mean that. And then the game starts, and we're playing with Poland against England, running against England. And then Matt Winning just turns around and fucking fires the ball into the Poland net, so we go a goal up, but then ruins the alliance. So I remember he scored, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you ruined it." And then we played in, and then I scored an absolute worldie that my mate sent me the match report recently. They say it's one of the best 3-sided goals ever. It was wind assisted, right? I chipped the keeper from miles away, and they scored a penalty.
How big's the pitch here? We talking
Quite big, like bigger than a Sevens Park,
Right.
wide.
Wow.
So it's like 18 people on it.
right?
It's like
fuck, yeah,
3-6, and then we score, we win, and then Ding starts, who's our goalie, starts shouting, attack the poles, and the English guy shouted, "It's not Nazi Germany," and then there was a bit of tension, and it was really awkward, and then we won, and we sprayed up big cans of Iron Brew, and that's why I've not done it on stage, because it's not funny, it's just me bragging. Like, it was great.
So you
It's
won
fun.
the-
We won the whole thing.
Wow.
Then we got invited to the World Cup, so that was the first ever international of it. So we get invited to the World Cup in Spain, and then the next time in Switzerland. We've never gone, but that's the only
You've
time
never
we played.
gone?
Never gone. No.
What?
So they
It's
still
always-
do it, yeah.
Yeah, they still do it.
We
You
should
check
all
out
go.
3-sided football. Yeah, but we need 2 more. Bear in mind,
we
CMB and
We know Tommy and Matt, get in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we not get better footballers?
probably, yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
What did
James.
mean, Steve? Who do you think's better footballer, me or Steve?
Steve.
Yeah, let's get up.
Like that, I didn't even need to think about that.
Because I don't think I'm a good player, but I don't think I'm as bad as.
Me?
You,
Not as bad as. No, I think we are similar.
I'm better.
I've seen him score like a mini overhead kick.
Oh, aye.
I said last night, deceptively good left foot.
No, he's good.
I
Stu
was
is
thrilled that he, in front of David Marshall, said I was good at football.
Yeah, you are
Actually,
good.
I noticed you did.
Did you
return the
fucking
compliment.
brag? Did you brag about that fucking goal at 3-a-side football to Gary Caldwell? No.
So I still play 11s, and 2 weeks in a row I scored 2 of the best goals I've scored. So Sunday afternoon there's Firhill Complex, there's like an African league that play after, so it's they play the game after, so they watch the game, and one game with about 15 minutes score to go, I scored from 40 yards, and they were all going mental, clapping me, cheering me off. I know 2 of them. One used to play for Thistle, and then the next week, 5 minutes ago, ball comes to the edge of the box in a short corner, I ping it in the top corner, and they're all going, "This guy's amazing." The next week, I play fucking dreadful. Like, one of the worst games I ever played, and I came off, and one went, "You're just a lucky boy." And I was like, "Oh yes, thank you, yes
That's
I am."
fun,
Yeah. But yeah, I would say Stevie's better than you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are good though. I didn't have time to return the compliment last night, but I always think you could do a job.
I'm
for
not the
Scotland.
worst player in the
Thank
team.
you.
I'm not the worst player in the team. No,
I didn't say you are. I didn't say you are.
Right, come
I
on.
think
That's
you,
always my fear.
you look like you should be good.
I
Which
know,
is,
aye.
I remember the first day you played, and I was like, "Oh, Jenny's my team class," and I passed the ball to him, and it just went for a throw. And I was like,
Based on no
But
information.
how could you? I don't understand how anyone could even get into comedy if they were good at football. Like, if I was able to be good at football, I just had a happy life, had a girlfriend, and just got a normal job, settled down, and I'd have been fine. The reason that I'm doing comedy is because I was a fucking loser.
You can still be a loser good at football.
Yeah.
Like,
I know,
look.
but I know, but you know, that would have solved a lot of my problems in my head anyway. I don't know.
Oh,
But-
the bull runs. I went to Spain. So the guy who is really big in Spain is a guy called Gus, who's a Thistle fan. And he was like, "Oh, I'm really famous over here." And I was like, "No, you're not." And we flew over Spain. And then he was like, "This is my mate. He's the mayor." Then we met all these people, all these kids walking around wearing Thistle tops. Like, there's one that's just been in Spain just now. And Gus was like the person that opened the bull runs.
Why is he famous?
Because he's done tons. He's a bit mental. He's done maybe about 100.
So you done it?
Oh, he's
Bill,
done
then?
loads.
I did 2 of them.
He's
yeah.
done loads of bull
Fuck's
runs.
He's done hundreds of them.
Were you
Hundreds of them.
like close to being mauled?
Pretty close the first time. So I was steaming when I did it. Well, probably still hungover actually. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Would you think it's the fucking one show?
I wish. And then but I didn't know. This sounds, but I didn't know they kill the bulls.
What?
So like they take them
Was
into
it?
and they do bullfighting and then they try like do all that. I didn't know that. Like, I don't think people do.
What do you mean at the after it
In
all?
the big kind of Encierro, I think it's called, like in the big kind of bullfighting ring.
So that's like their last run out.
Yeah,
They go for a
and
bull
then-
run and then
and
kill
then
them.
They go, yeah. So or they'll try like attack them and all that and taunt them and stuff. I didn't know that.
Alright, that's
so
fucked.
I
don't know.
Should be ashamed of yourself, Rick.
But that's fine. After someone told me after a gig, and I was like, "What?" Because I was just pissed
I had no
the whole
idea.
time I was there.
It's like the Grand National, but just to kill them regardless of what happens to them.
Less small people sitting on them. Like, and then it was great. And then, but what happened was, so I was running along, and I remember the only bit of advice I got was, don't cut the cut the corner, because a bull doesn't know how to cut a corner. Don't go wide on the corner. But all they were telling me, because it's like a course, so it's like fenced off for like 90 seconds, and they were saying, yeah, cut the corner because a bull won't cut the corner. And I remember running along, maybe 20 metres away from me, quite a bit, And then I remember this so vividly, thinking, why is everyone going to the inside of the corner? There's so much more room in the outside of the corner.
Fuck's sake.
So I went to the outside of the corner, and I remember thinking, bull run is easy, man. I'm going to move to Spain and go pro and all that. And then I turned around and I saw a bull and I fucking shat myself.
Did you
and
jump over the fence?
I slid under it. So I grazed all
Did
in my
you?
leg. And then,
Fucking hell.
but I went to the pub after. So 2 minutes past 8, it's finished. I went, what do we do now? He went, we just go to the pub. So we sat and we just did pints.
So once you jump or out the fence, that's
it.
you.
That's
Do
it.
loads of people do that? They bail out before the end of the run. They go out the sides.
You jump out and jump through. So you can go bottom, middle, or top. So most people go through the middle. If you go down the bottom, you fucked it, right? So that's what I did. And then, but I went to the pub and everyone. So I'm wearing a Scotland football top, and everyone keeps buying me pints like solidly. And I couldn't work out why it was. And then at 12 o'clock, I found out. So the bull run's got live on Spanish telly, and they chose to focus on the one guy in the bull at that bit. So I've got a picture of it. But so the double take I do is fucking incredible. So I got that. And like just slide. You can see me almost cutting myself as I go down. And then but they were commentating on it, and I heard the Spanish people in the pub laugh. I was like, that's not a good thing. And there was a Spanish guy, Adri, who was kind of like helping me out with translations. I don't speak a lot of Spanish at all. And I was like, what did he say? And he went, rewind it back. So the guy rewinds it back in the telly. He says it again, and then people laugh again. I was like, what is it? He went, oh, the commentator said this Scottish idiot has a death wish. Cultural relations, man. So if you like adrenaline, it's the best thing I've ever done. It's better than a skydive, bungee jumping.
I think it'd be terrifying.
Yeah. And so what's the goal? You get to the finish line or whatever?
No, the goal is to get as close to the bull as you can and then fuck off without being hurt.
Right.
That's
okay.
pretty much it. So the course is like 90 seconds. They release a gun. So if someone shoots a gun at 8 a.m. and there's like thousands of people coming out to watch. It's a huge culture event. So I didn't go to Pamplona, which is like the touristy one. So I went to this. It was San Sebastian de los Rios, so like north of Madrid, and it's like a big part of their culture. It's a festival, and they shoot a gun, and the noise is like nothing you've ever heard. It's like, hey, and then the bulls come, and people are like, ah! It's mad.
How many bulls are there?
8 or 10, I think.
See when you when you noticed the bull and you like went under the fence, how did you would you know have had to stop, and would they not been able to get you?
So I just slid. So I'm
Right.
running and I slid, and then I just went down, and then they ran over that way. I think probably if I watched back, I probably kept my head out for too long, and I could have got.
Do people die doing it?
Yeah, so I felt like I hung around with like a core group of people, and I felt like I was on a Louis Theroux documentary. Like one of the guys, Bill, he was a bare knuckle boxer in Chicago, and has like written books and all that kind of stuff. And now he's out there, and he's been gored since a couple of times and like been in hospital for ages. Like
Fuck's
the
sake.
guys that I hung about with, it's their life, and they save money all year to go and do this 2 or 3 times a year. And they've all got family they need to message when they're done to make sure they know they're not hurt. And
Can
all
you
that.
win like prize money or anything? No, it's just
So I did it once, and it was the best adrenaline I've ever done. And the second time I did it, I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? I didn't enjoy it at all. And then we went somewhere else to this kind of country place, and like, do you want to do it? And I was like, no, to get the full experience, I'll watch. And that was horrible. See, watching people nearly getting smashed up. Like,
Did
it's
did
weird.
them they die when you done it or nah?
Nah. I think
Fuck's
someone
sake.
died like the following year when I did it. But
Sake, man.
What was the thing you done in that dare hang? And it was like you were in it used to be your cover profile, and you were in
the
a big.
Globe of Death.
Yeah, what was that?
So I can't even remember how that came about. I ended up just standing in the middle of the circus, and motorbikes drove around me.
Oh, I've seen one of them.
And I just stood there. It was fine.
Aye.
There wasn't anything exciting. Like, it was through the Daily Record. The Daily Record got in touch and I did it. And I remember reading it, and I was like, they were saying, I was petrified, the fumes were consuming me, and I was like, I don't speak like that. I'd have been just like, yeah, it was good. Like,
You held it in your first fucking Daily Record full of shite.
it's definitely not the first time that's been said. It will not be the last. But yeah, and then I'm trying to think what other ones. Me and Tommy wrote a song to try and get the top 100 of the charts.
How'd you do?
We did all right. Oh, the worst one, the least enjoyable, I did the marathon, Edinburgh Marathon, and that was the worst thing I've ever done. Are you doing the half?
No, I should probably book in a half. That would actually make me get off the fucking couch and do it. I've only ever done like a 10k race.
If you ever want any running advice, give us. There's a boy.
Have a
Sounds
bull
like
chasing
don't
you.
do it.
It's honestly the least enjoyable thing I've ever done.
Why is that? From the training and everything? Though?
Well, the only most I ran in the training was 11 miles, but even just the whole day,
What was your time?
5:27. So I beat Mark Nelson by 33 minutes. But
Fucking hell.
But it turned out Nelson fractured his hip during it. We raised lots of money for charity, but it was so unenjoyable. I did the
Aye.
first half, in like just under 2 hours, which is like a great time. And the next one was like 3 and a bit because I was just fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would highly recommend not doing it.
I don't think it's good for anyone to do a marathon. I think it just fucks everybody's body.
And then Inverness half marathon, like 6 months later, we got asked to do a promo thing, so I ran that. Inverness is like one of the most hilly cities for the half marathon, so I was fucked. I did it with Rob Deering, who's got like a running podcast, and he said
serious running.
Yeah, so he was like,
I've read a book he's written about running.
So we got there, and he was like, for fuck's sake. Just looking at me, and then after, I'd never met him before, and after I was like, why did you swear at me in the van? He was like, well, I knew you weren't taking it seriously. I was like, what do you mean? He went, put it this way, before the race I took 2 ibuprofen to reduce swelling, and as I turned around you were eating a Twix. I was like, oh yeah, fair, man. Yeah, he beat me like 40 minutes in that one, and he was wearing, those kind of gold silver things to keep warm, just waiting on me, teeth chittering. And then Michael Redmond was in the gig, and he, as I came up to the end of the race, he was just drinking a red wine.
He loves a red wine.
He's a proper gentleman.
I remember doing a gig with Redmond, and someone was drinking a red wine in the front row. He just picked up, downed it, and then he was like, sorry, I'll get someone to get you a new one. The waitress brought one over and he downed it.
The first time I ever gigged with Michael Redmond, he done the similar thing, but he picked up somebody's full pint, downed it, and then put it back down, and then just fell to the ground.
Did you ever see him do the rugby tackle?
No, I don't
He
think
used
so.
to do a thing. He used to deliberately do it before we got me on stage, just to kind of make it awkward. Where he'd say, in
Just
my
what
age,
you want from a host.
yeah, in my age, the Sunday service was just a riot at the best of times.
Yeah, they don't let him do it anymore.
I once he stopped going. He's retired.
No, he lives in Spain now.
lives in
Actually,
Spain,
he does
Yeah,
it bull
he's
runs.
back. He's back. I met him in Tesco Berry Hill not
Was
long
he?
ago. One time before I got on, he got someone to come up and sing the Spanish national anthem. Like, just he was like, at my age, you can't approach girls anymore. It's very awkward. I don't want to be seedy, so what I do is now I just rugby tackle them. And then you okay with that? And the girl would go, yeah, and he would just run rugby tackle, and then bring the microphone down and went, please welcome your headline. Like they were getting up every time.
This is out to the listener if you don't know who this guy is. He's just
He's the best.
so good, but he's just this old kind of, what age is he? Like 60?
72.
He was
72.
Father Stone and
Father Stone
Ted.
and Father Ted.
He's
Just like,
a legend of
Yeah,
Scottish
he's
comedy.
so
he's
funny.
a great guy.
so funny.
I once saw him get refused service in a McDonald's. Because he'd never really been before, and he kept on asking for a chicken burger, and she was like, a McChicken sandwich. He was like, no, I don't want a sandwich. And this went on for fucking ages.
That's amazing. Guy who's never been to McDonald's before. There's a sketch for you.
I've already done that one.
Have you actually?
I'd like no,
Did you put the eyebrows in the tash?
What I was going to ask as well about like your wedding
Yeah.
as well. It's a good story. Like you got married in New York.
I thought you were going to say, why did you not invite me? And I was like, sorry, come down here.
Well, I came to
You did invite us to be
I
went to
did.
the
like the one in like
Drygate.
Drygate,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you were gigging before it, but I
I
was.
do
think it was.
I'd came back for a gig and I was just wearing like, it's like you doing the fucking thing with just normal
Yeah.
clothes
Yeah,
on.
I did
doing
feel
the Kings.
underdressed on it, even though
I was so
wearing a shirt and
underdressed,
that.
yeah.
I
I
was
was wearing a wee
so steaming
jumper.
that night. Like, see, by the time, because it was at Drygate, and obviously Drygate's got amazing beer, and we went to set up a wee bit early, and Haley came up to me, and she was like, the guests are going to come soon, and I was like, I think I'm absolutely pissed. She was like, you definitely are. Like, 100%. It was great. And then, yeah, so we went away to New York and got married. Are you thinking about doing it with any of your repeated dates? Or?
I'm curious.
So uncomfortable.
Well, the story, your story about this has made me think about at least pretending to. Cause
Mate, it's banging, man.
You wore the kilt and all that.
Wore
didn't you?
kilt, Haley wore a wedding dress, got married in Central Park, and Asian tour groups just kept on coming up and giving us money to have their photo taken with us.
Did they think you were like a tourist
I
attraction?
don't
or-
know. I still don't know this, but like, it was uncomfortable. And then
Until you got money.
until I was like $500 off, and I was like, I took.
Did you genuinely make that
I
money?
genuinely took $40 off an American woman to phone her friend and pretend I was an outlander. Like, it went. I was just ripping the piss, and then the Plaza Hotel, we tried to blag it, so we went across the road, and I'm in my kilt heels and a wedding dress, and because of what we're wearing. Before we ordered our drinks, the person at the table behind sent over a $600 bottle of champagne to say congratulations, and we were just like, we should take our clothes everywhere, man. Like, do that. And then, but the best thing was, so my mum and dad, Haley's mum and dad, and she's an only child, so my brother and my sister came over as well. So we'd booked this restaurant, like a private dining room for it, and I don't think I've ever told this part. And they were waiting on us, and me and Haley just got absolutely fucked at the Plaza, like bottle of champagne, cocktails, all that. For my wedding meal, everyone else had a proper meal, and I had the special that day, which was fried chicken. So it's like everyone's having steaks, and someone had lobster, and I was just like gnawing away, trying to get feeling back in my head. And then we ended up at McDonald's at about 3:30 in the morning, after being in a rooftop bar.
Still wearing
kilts, Haley still in a wedding dress.
Michael Redmond not getting served.
Well, it's the only time in my life I've there's a homeless guy outside, and I went, I'm pissed. I'm like, mate, do you want any food? He's like, yeah, can you get me well, they say it wrong, a filet-o-fish. Oh, yeah. And I was like, are you being serious? Like, I've never heard
it's the worst item in the menu.
And he went, yeah, please. So I go in, I order it, and I come back and he's fucked off. I was like, just get trolled by a homeless guy over a filet-o-fish. Jane, I was walking around with a filet-o-fish for ages trying to give it to random people at like 3 in the morning in New York. I would highly recommend it if you do it for one of your 2 weddings you're going to have.
No, that sounds good. Is that a prediction, is it?
Yeah, 2. What do you think, Jane?
3.
I'm happy to have any more than one, to be honest. or even have one.
Yeah. Who do you think will be the first to get married out of the 3 years?
Stephen.
I'm the only one with a girlfriend.
Bookie's favourite.
Just before we finish, I don't know if you are finished, he's just cut me off there.
Just before we finish.
That's just not my show. I present stuff, I don't know. Do you actually, you said earlier, you think about what you wear on stage. Do you like actively choose everything?
Not like massively, but I do consider it, yeah. Do you not?
Not really.
I mean,
you're always wearing fucking Levi's because you get sponsorship or some shit.
Yeah, I've got a t-shirt on. I actually deliberately didn't wear a Levi's jumper today in case you brought that up.
Because
I was going to bring that up earlier, yeah. Whenever I've done telly with you, it's always Levi's.
I've been drinking a fucking Iron Brew Extra every week trying to get sponsorship and you fuck off.
Greg's.
I got some free Iron Brew.
Did you get the deck chairs? I got them during the Fringe.
No, I got something sent to my house. It was for a sports thing, I can't remember what it was.
Right.
I get Famous Grouse sent me stuff for the rugby as well. I had to
Do you
make a
know,
cocktail.
Ray, all you've done this entire episode is just humble brag. To
Yeah.
I'm mates with John Bishop and Frank Skinner and Jason Scotland and Gary Caldwell.
Definitely not mates with Gary
I don't know if I'll make the edit, but earlier on Ray actually talked about sparking out the bull with one punch.
Everyone's running away, I fucking run towards him.
Pretty much what I wear to gigs.
Yeah, we wear similar things. Levi's. We had the exact same pair of fucking trainers. We're almost got the same fucking trainers now.
Yeah, we had you used to have the jumpers with wee animals on it, but I later found out you stuck those animals on yourself.
Sometimes I do, yeah. Well,
like, where are you buying the stickers?
It's not stickers, it's patches.
See the
If I may pick you up there.
Come on, not like getting it out of a sticker book.
But see, if you go to England, you need to change it because they don't call it patches.
They call it stickers.
You get it from like Amazon and Hobbycraft.
You sewing it? You get someone to sew for you?
I get my mum to iron. It's iron on patches, and then I get her to sew it just for safety. Just in case.
So you can get a wee lion or something as like a wee crest on your jumper.
I go for the tiger. I've had loads of different ones. You get wee ice creams and stuff as well.
Aardvark?
Is that a reference to my penis?
I did not know about this, but
what? We'll cut that bit.
No.
What a fucking odd thing to come out with.
I mean, I think I know what this is in reference to, but,
so do I, but
I didn't.
I don't know what this is in reference to.
I don't actually know.
Have you got an aardvark penis? What are we talking about?
I thought you knew.
He thinks he does anyway after that response.
Well, I think we spoke about before the time we done a rap battle, and my mate Gal gave me some information about Steve that had a really long foreskin. And is this? Would people call you aardvark?
Now and again.
What? I literally in my head I was like, pick an animal. A's is the first letter. 2 A's, fucking aardvark. That's what I picked that.
All right, I thought you.
At no point was I thinking about your penis.
There's one time me and
you can clip that.
One time me
Steve's reading fucking Noah's Ark like that. What the fuck? How would you know?
But when he shuts the book, he traps at his foreskin.
One time me and Catherine went to the zoo and we seen like the anteaters and that, and I was like, oh, that looks like my bobby, and we turned around, big group of fucking a family were standing behind us. Like, I enjoy it, it's lovely in there.
So was that like a nickname you had or something?
Nah.
He's trying to get it started.
You're taking it, didn't it? You brought the aardvark thing up because you were...
I genuinely thought you were referencing it because we spoke about that fucking Bobby thing.
Yeah, but aardvark never ever came
I've
into
never
it.
heard
I didn't know,
aardvark.
just in my head,
Yeah.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Also, I don't listen to this.
I know, I didn't think
I
you
watch
would.
the clips. I enjoy the clips.
The clips are good.
That's my attention span.
Clips are the best part.
Yeah. I listened to your 2 podcasts and I was fucking raging at you 2 slagging off Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
It's not good, man.
It's not a good film, Ray.
Go fuck yourselves.
It's shite.
We get a lot of hate.
I was more annoyed that he hated The Godfather, to be honest.
I stopped at Mighty Ducks. We watched The Godfather on tour, and we were in the tour bus. We're driving from Aberdeen to.
It's in the Kasabian
Glasgow.
bus with John Bishop.
But we got to Glasgow, and the bus had to go, so it was going to a different thing. And they dropped it off. There's 15 minutes left of the film, and we've all seen it, and we're like, can we not just stay on for 15 minutes? No. So we all went to John's room and he hired it on Prime. And then we sat and watched the last 15 minutes of it.
Here's the thing, right? See, when you're on this tour bus, right, and you're doing these big arenas and all that sort of stuff, and then like you need to just go back to doing circuit gigs. 'Cause I feel anytime I've opened for somebody that's like a bigger room than I can play and all that, you're almost getting like this taste of a thing that you're always like, I shouldn't really be experiencing this because I've not sold these tickets and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you get that taste of it, and then you just need to get back to fucking reality.
So my first gig after. So I did the O2 and then I did some solo shows at Oranmore, so that was fine. Then my first proper tour's finished. I did Bonafide at the Stand in Glasgow, which a new material night to like 30 people. And Jay Lafferty was comparing. I went on first and she came off. She was like, I'm not being rude, but you need to adjust your eye line. And I was like, what do you mean?
You're looking up at the ceiling and shit.
I was like that the whole time.
That's hilarious.
To the 30 people. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm a wank now, man. Like, I've never told anyone that. That was...
trying to get people up in the fucking...
up in the fucking security lights. Like, yeah, guys. Because that's all... And when you do it, like, when you're doing the arenas, you're just constantly that. And you're just looking and trying to...
Did John tell you that beforehand? That's what you need to do, or did you just...
No, you just can't do that, and he told me not to look at the big screens. So we had big screens up at all time, and that's really noticeable if you start staying.
You told me a really interesting thing about the big screens, about why you need to wear dark stuff.
So we did Bournemouth was the first arena gig we did, and I didn't really enjoy it that much, and I was still using a handheld mic, and then we changed it. I used a headset from then on. So I could do
Britney mic?
Oh, mate.
Game
Jack Whitehall, yeah.
I've always used that when I've toured myself. Like, it's just
I suppose
easier
with
for signing.
and
also I feel like a princess. And then the first night, I came off stage in Bournemouth, and I was like, fuck, man. So maybe like 3,000 people there. Didn't enjoy it, and I was like, there's a security light going on all the time, and it's lighting up all the audience. Like, I said that, and the tour manager was like, no, that's your shirt. I wore like a mustard kind of colour shirt, and because I'm quite pale,
right,
every time the camera zoomed in on me, it lit up everyone. So so if you ever watch an arena show, everyone will wear dark clothes.
Oh, right.
So because it makes back. It's not funny. It's just factual.
No, that's
so good to know.
So
I can't wear my white Elvis jumpsuit if I ever do. That's out for the Kings, unfortunately.
Oh man, the Kings is gonna be so good. It's gonna be so exciting for you.
Hopefully, I just hope it sells it.
I'm doing the pavilion. Have you done has anyone done the pavilion?
No.
I've done it once. It was really nice, but it's part of the.
That's quite. I know.
Is it Alice in Wonderland or something like that? Is it?
Yeah. I'm playing the genie in Aladdin.
That's really. It feels quite shallow, but like really tall.
Straight up, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm touring next year. I might as well give it a plug since I'm doing this for fuck all. I was uncomfortable there. That was good. I start tour 9th of February, and then I'm doing various places in Scotland. Start the Soho Theatre, and then should finish in London as well at the end.
When's your Glasgow date? Do you know?
14th of March, something like that.
14th of March.
Pavilion. The Falkirk.
Many seats is Pavilion.
1,500, I think. And then Howick. I'm doing Ullapool. Ullapool's class. Inverness, Perth, Greenock. All the places.
We'll put up your dates in the description or whatever.
We'll put a link to the dates.
Put a link out.
You've already done your plugs as well. You've done the job of a host and a guest all in one here.
Get the plugs in.
Very economical, you man. You're just doing everything, asking the questions, answering.
It's nice to have a real professional here for a change.
You don't get to this weight by using a lot of energy. So that is the best way of doing it.
Just clip that for M&S.
I think I don't know if we sold out this time it comes up, but we're running a charity gig at the Stand on the 9th of October. All money goes to the North West Food Bank. Me, Fred McCauley, and a special guest. We've got so much football memorabilia to give away in the raffle, like so much.
Oh, aye.
So
Partick Thistle tops,
Partick Thistle, Scotland stuff, all that kind of stuff. So I think we've sold.
I might have something I could maybe give you as well.
Signed pair of boots from Mark Jennings.
What are you trying to get rid of?
No, it's not mine. It's my dad's, but I think it's The daft thing he's got there, mate.
I've got a Hartwell Tel Aviv scarf if you fancy it.
Nah.
Cool.
Why have you got that?
I traded it with a wee guy at a football game once.
Who?
Traded scarves.
He used to wear that scarf around his cock.
Just to support the weight.
The aardvark gets cold in the winter, you know. So that about covers it this week for some laugh. Thanks once again to our guest Ray Bradshaw.
Cheers, Ray.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Ray.
guys.
As
Appreciate
ever, you please do give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And please do follow us at Some Laugh Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And until next time, guys, see you later.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Look
Ray.
out for the next music video from the Aardvark.
Yeah, that's me, baby.